These pepper seeds are more than 5 years old. I wonder if they're still good. Join me as I find out. Hi, I'm Gardener Scott, and I discuss everything gardening. Today, it's seed germination testing. And this is a basic skill that I think all gardeners should learn about. The idea is that when you find a seed packet that tells you it's 5 or 6 years old, you can determine if these seeds are still good, if you can still start them and plant them in your garden. It works if you find a single package, or in my case, if you find an entire box of seed packets that you'd forgotten about. I need to find out if this package of peppers and a lot of these other seeds are still good. The reason why I wonder is because all reputable seed sellers will list on the package when the seeds were packed and when they should be sold. This package in particular was packed for the 2014 growing season, and that they should be sold by December 31st of 2014. Here's a package that was packed for 2017 and should have been sold by November of 2017. It's a common misconception that seeds will last virtually forever. And some of that comes from the news when they report about some of these seed banks in the frozen north that have seeds that have been stored for decades and are expected to last decades more. Well, those are very precise conditions of storage, not like most of us gardeners use. The other end of the spectrum are the seed companies themselves that want us to think we have to buy new packages of seeds every single year. The assumption being that our seeds will only last 1 year. Well, the truth is somewhere in between. Almost all seeds will definitely last beyond 1 year, but they won't last forever. So how do we determine if seeds from 2017 or 2014 are still good in our garden? Well, that's what I'm going to show you now. What comes next may remind you of a science experiment you did as a kid. We're going to allow the seeds to germinate. We place them on wet paper towels, put them inside of plastic bags, and then just wait. And if the seeds are viable, if they will grow, then they'll sprout inside the plastic bags. And what we do is just take a look at how many of the seeds sprout, how many germinate, and that will give us an idea of the viability of these seeds. I'm going to be testing a lot of packages, but for today, I'll just be taking a look at these 3. And I begin by writing the name of the variety and the type of plant on these plastic bags so I don't get them mixed up and I know exactly which ones they are. If you do this over a period of time, well, then it's also a good idea to maybe write down the date that you're doing this. This will also give you an idea of how long it takes for these seeds to germinate. If you keep a garden journal, which I strongly recommend, by tracking how long it takes for the seeds to germinate, well, you can put that in your journal. And then later, when you're not doing this with bags, when you're putting seeds out in the garden or maybe starting them early in your grow room, you'll have a very good idea of just how long it takes for the seeds to germinate and when to expect the seedlings to pop up. For this seed germination test, I'll be using paper towels. Now the brand I like has this select a size width, which is just perfect for this sandwich bag that I'm also using. I'll fold the paper towel in half and then I place it in the plastic bag. Now this is different than you may have seen some of the other videos and garden educators recommend. I'm going to place it flat and then I'm going to just spray the inside to moisten this paper towel. It doesn't need to be wet. sopping and dripping. It just needs to be moist. This is the cilantro, so I'm going to now take some of the seeds. This package has a lot of seeds, and so the exact number that you're testing really isn't that important. If you've got a lot of seeds, then test a lot of seeds. And I'm just going to place the seeds into this paper bag, spread them out a little bit once they're in here, and then seal up the plastic bag, holding in all of the moisture. And this bag is ready to go. Now let's talk about some differences, why my method may look different than what you're used to. Starting with the paper towel. The way you may have seen this done before is to take the paper towel, put the seeds on it, and then fold the paper towel. And then maybe fold it again. And then maybe fold it again. And then put it into the plastic bag. Well, this will definitely work, and as long as it's moist, the seeds will germinate. The problem is that when I want to check on that germination, I have to take the paper towel out, unfold it, and then peek to see what's germinated. And then fold it all up again and place it back in the plastic bag. Well, that takes time, it's unnecessary, and with my method, you can just look through the plastic and see how many of the seeds have germinated without disturbing them at all. Because another nice thing about this, once they've germinated, you can actually take these seeds, place them in soil, and you can expect them to grow. When you have to do all the unfolding, the roots have probably started growing into the paper towel, and you're not going to be able to put them into soil and grow them. Another important reason why I do it this way is because not all seeds are the same. A lot of what we grow in the vegetable garden we can put in the soil and expect it to grow. But there are many flowers, particularly wildflowers, that actually need light to germinate. So if we're putting those kind of seeds in a folded up paper towel, they'll never germinate. But if we put them in a plastic bag where they're exposed to light, well, then we can expect to see some of that germination. This is a method that can be used for all seeds, not just the vegetable garden seeds. Let's move on to these oldest of seeds that I have, the Trinidad scorpion pepper. And as I look in the package, I can see that I have a grand total of about 15 seeds. And you'll often see it recommended that you test 10 at a time. Well, if I test 10 of these seeds, that will only leave me 5 to start downstairs. Sure, I might be able to put some of the ones that germinate into soil, but there's no guarantee that I can do that without damaging the roots. So I'm only going to take about half of these. Let's go ahead and work with 8 seeds that I leave behind in the package. And I've got 8 seeds that I'll put into my plastic bag. Same thing, I'll just spread them around, press them onto the wet paper, and then seal the bag. A primary reason why you see people recommend that you only do 10 seeds at a time when you're testing is because it makes for easy math. If you start with 10 seeds and only 7 germinate, well, then you have a 70% germination rate. Well, that's great if you're doing a science fair project or you're homeschooling your kids and using this as a math exercise. But for me, the math isn't that important. I don't care if it's a 75%, 80%, or 85% germination rate. I'm just trying to see if my seeds are still good. And if I've got a bunch of seeds in the bag, I can determine mathematically later on what that percentage is. But more importantly, I can get the visual check and see, yeah, over half of my seeds are germinated. Or, wow, look, all of them have germinated. The Genovese basil is a number one where I have a lot of seeds in this package and other packages. So I'll take a good portion, spread them on the paper, and then these are ready too. So with the seeds in the bags, we're ready to let them start germinating. Now, you should put these in a nice warm location. Most seeds germinate better when they're warm. It's also good to put them in an out-of-the-way spot where they won't be disturbed by somebody else. A spot that I like is the top of the refrigerator. It's warm, it's out of the way, but yet it's still easy to access. As I place the seeds on the refrigerator, I'm also going to turn these bags upside down so that the seeds are on the bottom and the moist towel is on the top. Now, if you're doing seeds that require light to germinate, of course, then leave the seeds up. You're probably asking why I turn it upside down. Well, for a couple reasons. And it's using gravity to my advantage. The paper towel is moist, and we want to ensure that it stays in contact with the seeds so that the seeds have a moist environment. By putting the bag upside down, the moisture in the towel will naturally work its way down to the seeds. So they should always be nice and moist. Another reason is that the roots that come out of the seeds are going to go down naturally. It's just the way they work with gravity. If the seeds are pointed up, then those roots may start growing into the paper towel. And if I hope to reuse these seeds, placing them in soil, that can cause problems. So by being upside down, the roots will actually be against the plastic, still moist, but that allows me the opportunity to maybe take them out and plant them in a pot. After a week, none of the Trinidad scorpion peppers have germinated, but we'll give them more time. On the basil seeds, I can see that some of the seeds have started germinating, but of these 50 seeds, it looks like only 18 have germinated after a week. There's some nice roots growing from some of these seeds, but of the 50 cilantro seeds in this bag, only 12 have germinated. I've allowed the seeds to continue germinating for another week so I can get some final numbers. And they are a little surprising based on those initial results. More of the basil seeds germinated, and so now I have 28 out of the 50 basil seeds have germinated. The cilantro has done quite well with 41 of the 50 seeds having germinated. But after 2 weeks, there's no indication of any germination on the pepper seeds. So after this germination testing is complete, I can do the math to figure out what the percentage of germination is. And looking at the basil seeds, I had a 56% germination rate. The cilantro was actually pretty good and gave me an 82% germination rate. And of course the peppers have a 0% germination rate. Now, as a control and also to test some of these cheap seeds that I got at the dollar store, I also did a test with a dwarf blue kale. Of the 17 kale seeds that I put in the bag for testing, 15 have germinated. So that gives me an 88% germination rate for the kale. So what do these numbers mean? Well, as I look at the basil with a 56% germination rate, I can still use these seeds, but I'm going to have to use twice as many as I might normally use. Normally, you can sow your basil seeds and expect that you'll have basil plants. But with these older seeds, only about half of them can be expected to germinate. I'll still use these seeds. I just need to use a lot of them to get the same results. For the cilantro at an 82%, well, I may not really need to adjust much at all, because 8 out of 10 of the seeds that I'm going to be putting into the soil can be expected to grow. And the kale, these cheap 25-cent seeds, gave me almost a 90% germination rate. So these also are doing quite well. 90% is a pretty good rate. I consider this germination testing a success. It gave me a very good idea about the viability of my seeds, particularly the older ones. I know those peppers are done. 0%, there's no reason to save them. I'll toss them out. But the other seeds can still be used. 50% viability might be questionable for some gardeners, but I don't have a problem with it because I don't like to throw away seeds if I can avoid it. If you were to buy brand new seeds that had a 50% germination rate, I would definitely suggest returning those seeds and getting your money back, or getting new seeds that have a better germination rate. Not all seeds will last forever. Not all seeds will last more than a few years. I'll put a link below to some general guidelines as to how long you can expect your seeds to remain viable. But if you ever have any questions, now you know how you can test your seeds and determine whether they're worth saving. If you have any questions, please let me know in the comments. If you want to see more of these gardening videos, well then subscribe to the GardenerScott channel and be sure to click on the bell so you know when new videos are coming out. If you like this video, well then give me a thumbs up and share it with others who might appreciate it. I'm GardenerScott. Enjoy gardening.